You get home. The door closes behind you. And suddenly, everything feels different. The noise is gone. The conversations are gone. The expectations are gone. For the first time all day, you can hear yourself think. And strangely enough, that's the best part of your day. Nobody was rude to you. Nobody hurt your feelings. Nothing went wrong. You were simply around people. Yet somehow, sitting alone in your room feels better than being at the party, the gathering, the meeting, or the crowded restaurant you just left. Most people don't understand that feeling. In fact, many people assume something must be wrong with you. They hear that you enjoy spending time alone and immediately jump to conclusions. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you're shy. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you're antisocial. But what if none of that is true? What if the thing you've spent years trying to explain isn't a weakness at all? What if it's actually a sign that your mind works differently? Because psychology is discovering something fascinating about people who genuinely enjoy their own company. They're not avoiding life. They're experiencing it differently. You see, from the moment we're born, we're taught a very specific lesson. The more social you are, the healthier you are. The more friends you have, the happier you are. The more people around you, the better your life must be. But reality isn't that simple. Some people feel energized in a crowd. Others feel exhausted by one. Some people need constant conversation. Others need silence. Some people fear being alone. Others feel most like themselves when they are. And if you're the second type, there's a good chance you've spent years wondering why. Why do other people seem to need constant interaction? Why does being alone feel peaceful instead of painful? Why can you spend hours by yourself and never feel bored? The answer may have less to do with your personality than you think. Because people who enjoy their own company often share a rare set of psychological traits. Traits that most people never develop. Traits that change the way they think, feel, create, and connect with the world around them. And the first one explains why silence feels like freedom instead of punishment. The second rare trait has nothing to do with being shy. In fact, it's the exact opposite. People often assume that those who enjoy being alone struggle with social situations. But many of them can hold conversations just fine. They can make people laugh. They can lead meetings. They can speak confidently in front of a room. The difference isn't ability, it's energy. Most people think social energy works like a battery. They assume everyone starts the day full and gradually runs out. But for people who enjoy their own company, it's more complicated than that. Because they don't just hear conversations, they absorb them. When someone speaks, they notice the tone, the facial expression, the hesitation before a sentence, the emotion hidden underneath the words. While others are listening to what is being said, they're often paying attention to what isn't being said. And that takes work. A lot of work. Imagine walking into a room where every light is brighter, every sound is louder, and every emotion is stronger. Eventually, your mind starts asking for a break. Not because you're weak, because you're overloaded. That's why some people come home after a social event and immediately want silence. Not because they hated being there, because their brain has been processing information nonstop. And that leads to another trait many people never recognize. People who enjoy being alone are often highly self-aware. When life becomes quiet, they don't feel trapped. They become curious. They replay conversations, analyze decisions, question beliefs, explore ideas. Some of the deepest personal growth happens when nobody else is around. Because without distractions, the mind finally has room to think. And that's exactly why solitude feels different to them. To most people, being alone means less stimulation. To them, it often means more. More thoughts, more ideas, more reflection, more understanding. Which brings us to something even more surprising. Many of the world's most creative people shared this exact preference. Not because they disliked people, but because creativity needs space. The best ideas rarely arrive when your attention is being pulled in 10 different directions. They arrive during quiet walks, late-night thinking, peaceful moments when the outside world finally becomes silent. And if you've ever had your best ideas while sitting alone, driving alone, or simply staring out a window, there's a reason for that. Your mind wasn't escaping reality. It was finally free enough to explore it. But there's one final trait that explains why some people would rather have one genuine connection than 100 casual ones. And once you understand it, everything starts to make sense. The final rare trait might be the most important of all. People who enjoy their own company don't collect people. They choose them carefully. Think about the average conversation. Most of it is predictable. Small talk, polite responses, surface-level interactions that disappear almost as quickly as they begin. For some people, that's perfectly fine. But for others, it feels exhausting. Not because they dislike people, because they crave something deeper. A real conversation, a meaningful connection, an honest exchange where neither person is pretending to be someone they're not. That's why their circle is often small. Not because nobody likes them, not because they can't make friends, because they're selective about who gets access to their energy. And once you understand that, a lot of things suddenly look different. Maybe you don't enjoy being alone because you're antisocial. Maybe you've simply learned the value of peace. Maybe your solitude isn't loneliness. Maybe it's recovery. Maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's freedom. The truth is that society often rewards visibility, the loudest voice, the busiest schedule, the biggest social circle, but none of those things automatically create fulfillment. Some people find happiness in crowds. Others find it in quiet mornings, long walks, books, ideas, and the simple comfort of their own thoughts. Neither is wrong. They're just different. And if you've spent years feeling strange because you enjoy your own company, there's something important you should remember. You don't need constant noise to live a meaningful life. You don't need a crowd to prove your worth. You don't need to be surrounded by people every moment of every day. Sometimes the strongest relationship you'll ever build is the one you have with yourself. Because when you genuinely enjoy your own company, being alone stops feeling like isolation. It starts feeling like peace. And perhaps that's what most people misunderstand. The people who enjoy being alone aren't running away from the world. They're simply comfortable enough with themselves that they don't need the world every minute to feel complete. So if you've ever been told you're too quiet, too reserved, or too different, maybe the problem was never you. Maybe you were simply listening to a part of yourself that most people never take the time to hear.